It felt really important and special, and yeah, it was just a nice opportunity to bring that story to more people and make more people aware of these children, and but also yeah, just the script was quite special, and I thought it quite a unique thing, and the fact that Morgan hadn't done anything before, and his films are so beautiful and special, and he has such a special eye and intelligence. When you work with people you love, it's a real gift, really. It's sort of it's again another opportunity, because you have that relationship already established, and but yeah, I just find him quite exciting to work with, and so I just was drawn to Julie and her heart, but also Nathan. I think it's a really important story and could be really inspirational for kids, whether they've on the spectrum or not. Just think it's a lovely coming of age story that we can all relate to. I quite like the fact that she feels she doesn't really know anything about the situation and doesn't know how to deal with it. So I wanted to use that a bit, and that feeling of being ignorant, really, about it. And but having said that, you want to do for your own head, for the part of it that isn't, you try not to tap into. But before you start, I got all the parenting books about autistic children and how best to deal with them. But I really didn't want to delve too deep, because she's sort of feels a bit lost. I thought that was a good position to start in. But yes, I had watched the film and spoke to Morgan about. I wanted to meet. There just wasn't enough time, but I wanted to meet mothers of autistic children, or the ones that were in the film, and but there just wasn't the time, unfortunately. The film opens with that. That catastrophe, and that where her whole life is turned upside down. Both their lives. It's she's completely alone with Nathan, and was a difficult relationship to begin with, and then without support of Michael, trying to deal with that grief. It's so much to deal with as a young mum, and on her own with a child who's not particularly doesn't know how to give back, and she's being the person she is. She's really needing that, and has no emotional support anywhere, adult or otherwise. With Nathan, it's been difficult, and that communication, it's always been quite awkward, and she's never felt that bond, rightly or wrongly. It's whether it's in her head or not, it's sort of it's very difficult for a young mother to deal with, and he's an only child, and it's she takes it on, really, and she doesn't quite know how to release it. So I'm reading it and being in Julie's shoes. It was obviously she needs to get away from that, get out of her head. It's not about her, and that frustration with Julie, and yet, if I was in that situation, I'd probably be exactly the same. that neediness for any kind of knowing that your child loves you is just fundamental. But Nathan can't express that in a conventional way. It's quite tragic and sad, and yeah, seeing him at the doctor's and I loved his droll humour and against, you know, the lightness of everything else. It just sort of juxtaposed against Nathan's innocence, and I think it's a beautifully written part, and he plays it so beautifully, and it is devastatingly sad. I think it's really important. It's really like a keystone for her. I think it sort of her point of contact, adult contact, feeling attractive again, feeling that she's sort of worth something. She's sort of, when I was playing Julie, I felt like it was, you know, she almost didn't want to take up space, you know. It was like she's, and I think it's just sort of validation of who she is, and light again in her life, and a bit of laughter and remembering who she was, who she is, and I think it's really important for her, and sort of breathing into her own space again. That makes sense. So I thought it was it's really important for Julie. She sort of, it's like a doorway for her, I suppose, into that it's not always about Nathan. She knows that when she sees that he will be okay, you know, that he can form relationships in the outside world, and he does have difficulties and will have huge obstacles to overcome, but he can overcome them, and he can form really close bonds with others beyond the walls of the home and beyond her, and that's key, and that's I think that's probably all that she's really wanted, and that reassurance that beyond her he's going to be fine. You just want to get the tone right, I suppose, because you're dealing with, because it came from the documentary and had such a beautiful, beautiful film, and so inspiring. You just hope that it, of course, it becomes a different thing because you're working in a different medium, and it's half fiction and based on truth, but not, becomes a completely different creature in a way. So I suppose you just want to make it relatable and believable. I love working with Edward, playing the young Nathan. He was gorgeous and, again, so clever, and he really took it on and was he's such a beautiful spirit, and you always worry about when you've got to form realistic bonds with child actors. You don't know who they'll be or what they'll be like or how much training they've had, or whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, and how much experience. It's usually more than me, but he was lovely and hadn't done much, and but then, you know, incredibly professional and on it and worked so hard. You cared for him and you felt for him and you felt that he had a story that you don't really see, but that you feel his love for the children and his intelligence and how it was in the film, actually, how it was in the original documentary. And I got to meet, I think it was the original tutor that Eddie's character is based on, who sat actually beside me while we're outside the examination room. And that was quite interesting. You sort of saw flashes of Eddie's character in him, and whether Eddie picked that up or it was just me seeing that in him. But it is such an interesting character and his, but also complicated, like we all are. And I just wanted to know more, really. I wanted to follow his character, which is always a good sign. Like scenes where you have time to breathe with it, and the audience does too. It feels more like a play in that way, that it's a slow thing where you feel like you can really, it's not quick cuts. And as an actor, it's lovely to sort of wallow in a scene, but equally I loved some things I thought would be tough. Well, they're always tough, but the crash, that was right at the end of the shoot, very long shoot, very tough shoot, so it's probably good that you're sort of reached the end and you're emotionally at the end too, which is always useful. You just want it to inspire people and reach more people in the right way. But I think whether you're a child on the spectrum or not, I think it's a coming of age story, and I think it's relatable to all, really, and it's about, I just want it to give hope and never give up, really, type of thing.